Welcome to Brain Chat with the Nerdy Neurologist. I'm Dr. Mitzi Joy Williams, and I'm your board-certified neurologist and MS specialist. My mission is to engage, educate, and empower those affected by MS to become an active part of their healthcare team. Here on Brain Chat, we'll be talking all things MS, health and wellness, advocacy, and we'll throw a little bit of music and music therapy in there as well. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for the next episode. All right, welcome to Brain Chat with the Nerdy Neurologist, and I am Dr. Mitzi Joy Williams. I'm so excited to be here with you all tonight and talk with some of my super friends again about different topics related to MS. And tonight, I'm very honored to have an amazing patient advocate with me. So we originally had two guests for the show, but unfortunately, one of our guests is unable to come today, but we are still going to have an amazing time. And I have Tyler Campbell with me tonight, and I'm so excited to talk with Tyler. I've been very fortunate to meet him and interact with him at several different venues, and I can't wait until something happens where we can meet in person. But until then, we will be chopping it up on different venues, including Brain Chat tonight. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about finding your voice with multiple sclerosis. After a diagnosis, people often deal with a lot of emotions, a lot of issues. And so it can be difficult to kind of deal with that. And I want to talk about how you can find purpose after your diagnosis and how you can share your story and how sharing your story can be such an inspiration to others. And I see a couple people in the comments. Hi there. Good evening, everybody. You can just drop in the chat where you are logging in from. I know somebody's in Albany, Georgia. And I see somebody that writing looks Japanese, so I'm not sure where they're from, but, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce Tyler and then bring him up so we can get started. All right. So Tyler is a Texan. He's from Houston, Texas. And I like this mantra that he said he learned as a kid from his dad that says, "A Campbell never quits." And so I like that mantra. And I think that you will learn from his story that he definitely is not a quitter and that he is an overcomer. And so Tyler was diagnosed with MS while he was in college at San Diego State University. And he was the first individual to play Division I college football with multiple sclerosis, which again is a testament to that fighting spirit and that ability to overcome and not quit. Right now, Tyler is an entrepreneur. He is a professional speaker, and he talks a lot about inspiring folks, not just those who live with MS, but everyone. And he is just such a delight and joy to work with. I see everybody dialing in from South Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, Austin, Texas, Albany, Georgia, as I said, New York, Sacramento, and Detroit and Colorado Springs. So welcome all of you. And I'm going to have Tyler come up to the stage and we are going to chop it up. Hi there, Tyler.
Missy, what's going on? Hey, don't skip out. We got my man Lando, who is from Austin, Texas, but he's from the state of Georgia, though. But I'm gonna let him slip on that. I know that one right there. We'll claim it. We'll claim it.
Okay. All right. So we'll claim Austin. So we got some folks from Virginia and all different places. So Augusta, my old stomping ground. So thank you all for tuning in. And I think this is going to really be an impactful show. I wanted Brain Chat to be not just about the science. We talk about the science, but I also wanted to be about the experience. And I realized that as an MS specialist, although I talk to, interact with, even have family members who have MS, I don't have the same experience as those living with MS. And so I think it's really important for us to highlight voices of people who are living with this condition so that you can, talk to others and allow others to be inspired by you, just like I have. All right. So let's get it started. You know what I'm going to ask you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about your diagnosis with MS.
Man, well, Missy, First off, I'm probably one of the few people who actually still grew up on country music and Western. So I got a lot of horses and a lot of true Texan about me. That's who I am. But no, I was born into a world of high expectations, right? And what I mean by that is my father just so happened to be an NFL Hall of Famer and a Heisman Trophy winner, right? And so I was I was born into a world that hoped that I would follow in my father's footsteps, right? So at an early age, I kind of didn't understand my own sense of self-worth and being. I started to try to follow in my own footsteps from Jump Street instead of just being me, right? And of course, since my pop played football, Mitzi, I'm like, boom, that means I'm supposed to play football. That means that's what I'm supposed to do. Not knowing that I have my own life, Mitzi, like I got my own thing that I could do. I have a gift that quite frankly could have been given to me that i.e. my father and my brother didn't get. But I didn't understand that. But my pops and my mother were very good about loving on us as children, my brother and I, and they wanted to guide us down that direction of finding our own selves. But I gave into the ways of the world and what they wanted me to be. So I played football, ended up getting a football scholarship to San Diego State University. And that was a blessing, right? I'm thinking, since my parents don't have to pay for my college, I'm doing something right. This is what I'm supposed to do. But in all actuality, getting to San Diego State University, my life would change tremendously, and ultimately, though, would give birth to me and have a greater understanding of what my true gift and what my real purpose was. It just so happened that it came in a very, 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 very unexpected way. You know what I mean?
And I think that's so key, right? And, you know, the thing about it is that many of us have many different gifts, right? Yeah. But just because we have a gift doesn't necessarily mean that's what we're supposed to be doing primarily, right? So, for instance, I'm a singer. I love to sing. I think I'm a pretty decent singer, but I realized early on that, you know, Broadway was not the way for me. Like, I want to be a scientist and I can sing on the side. You know what I mean? And obviously you had a talent for football because you got a scholarship, right? But maybe that wasn't the primary thing that you were supposed to be doing. Even though it was a gift, it wasn't exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So tell us kind of what happened when you got diagnosed.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, first off, you know, completely, you know, really healthy background. As a Black male, very educated on, I have sickle cell in my family, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, cancer, very aware health-wise of the importance of maintaining a healthy lifestyle and staying keen to my body and paying attention to body responses, right? And being an athlete, that only heightened that. When I was a month after my 21st birthday, this is 2007, a month after my 21st birthday, during the month of November, we had just finished playing Brigham Young University, BYU. It was the last game of the season because, y'all, we didn't win barely any football games, so we wasn't going to a bowl game, you know. But, so we wasn't that good, all right? We wasn't that good. But the season ends, and I walk out of that football game normal, without any issues, Mitzi. Okay, no real bruises, no real scar, like nothing crazy. And I woke up routinely because my mind was on an alarm clock. I automatically wake up at 5 o'clock every morning because I was used to getting up, working out, student athlete stuff, right? And I woke up routinely, and instead of getting out of bed and rising to my feet, I fell flat on my face without warning. And I want everybody to think about that. Like, we always take something like walking for granted. We always grow and expect to be able to wake up the next day and be able to just vibe and rock with our days. I woke up expecting to walk, and I couldn't. And I laid helplessly on the floor because I noticed that paralysis was setting in on the right side of my body. Nothing would work. My right limbs wouldn't work. I kept telling them to move, and they wouldn't. So I think we all, MS or not, can relate. Like, there's a sense of panic taking place when you try to move something or tell your body to do something and it doesn't do that. And then when I tried to cry for help to my roommate, I noticed that the words wouldn't come out. It was just noise. It was like I was like tongue tied. And so the words wouldn't come out. So now I'm really panicking. Like, there's really something wrong here. And every time I try to get to my feet, I just fell flat on my face. And so I ended up yelling, grown man, yelling to my roommate. And it was just an noise because I couldn't say help. And my roommate came in, and when I saw the look on his face, that made me panic even more. So, I got rushed to Scripps La Jolla Memorial Hospital in La Jolla, California. And I remember like getting to the neurologist, finally with an appointment. The next, I think about 2 days later, I got an appointment. And as soon as I got in there, the lady said to me, and she was an elderly white woman, she said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Ma'am, I don't know. They say there's something wrong with my brain. They think there's probably something up there because my body's not responding." And she said, "Young man, you're too young to be here. I've never seen anybody like you here before." And I was totally freaked out. I didn't know what a neurologist was in the first place. I got the understanding when I went in there and saw diagrams of the human brain. But then there were elderly white people there. Nobody looked like me, Mitzi. So it's like I'm 21 years old. I don't have any parent, no team doctor, no coaches in there with me. And I know that I'm having to navigate this new lane of life by myself. And then people are telling me I'm too young to be here. So I was panicked.
Yeah.
Totally panicked.
You know, and I think that your experience, unfortunately, is not unique, right? You know, many people that are diagnosed with MS often are healthy. You know, they are doing fine. They don't have any medical issues. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, something will happen, whether it's weakness, whether it's a loss of vision. I think one of the things, though, that's so important or key to your story is that you did initially seek medical attention. You know, obviously, your symptoms were very dramatic. But for some folks, let's say who may be dragging a leg or may have a little bit of numbness, they may not seek that attention. And the earlier we seek attention, the more likely we are to get diagnosed. And so I think that's extremely important. To make sure that if something is wrong, if you are healthy, it is not normal for your leg to be dragging. It's not normal for your memory to be bad. Make sure that you go and see somebody so that you can get appropriately diagnosed and treated as you need to. So tell me.
And this was key. That was key because what you said was, so I learned at that age of 21, the first time to be an advocate for my health, because when I went to the training room where the doctors were, and I failed all their physical tests, they were thinking concussion. And I was like, I don't have that. I'm cerebral. I'm there. I can tell you I can tell you all of that took place the day before. I have that. And then I'm like, no, something is really wrong with me. I need greater help. And that kind of forced them to pick up the phone to call a neurologist. And it was like, it was the first ushering to understand, like, okay, this is the beginning of going to be like kind of a constant fight for my health, a constant fight for somebody to see me and to say, like, okay, I really have to listen to what he's saying, because what I think could be is not what actually is. Does that make sense? I was kind of ushered there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that brings out another key point, self-advocacy, right? You know, in a perfect world, everybody would know that people of all different ethnicities get MS, right? But for some, there's still this thought that it's mostly young white women. And even in young people who are of Northern European descent, if somebody comes in with a numb arm, they might say, oh, it's a pinched nerve, and send you home. And so I think that second part of what you're saying is so essential. Like, I know something is wrong. It's not a concussion, right? And if you don't get an answer, the first place you go, keep looking, right? When I had my first guest, Dr. Mary Hughes, one of my mentors on, we talked a lot about firing your doctor. We were like, just fire him, you know. If you feel like you're not getting listened to or your feelings are not being addressed, then fire them and find somebody else. But if you're not getting the answers that you need and you know something's wrong, it's okay to get another opinion. It's okay to seek a second opinion, because time is brain and spine. The earlier we intervene, the more chance we have to prevent disability. So you've diagnosed, right? You're in the hospital, right? Tell us a little bit about kind of your journey after diagnosis and kind of this thought, okay, your legs were weak. Did they get better? What were your thoughts? Were you still able to play football? Kind of what happened after that, after you initially got diagnosed?
Yeah, I think MS or any problem for that matter, or any adversity that strikes us, it further just reveals who we are at our core as human beings, right? I think those things become more magnified whenever you start to deal with this disease or anything else. You really and truly figure out who you are, what your core values are as a person. And for me, initially, my thought was, I made a commitment to get my education. I came to San Diego State, number one, to get a business management degree. My mama told me when I got on the Southwest airplane to come to California, she said, you can't come back till you have your degree in hand. Typical Black mama, Mitzi. Okay,
Right. That's what I'm going to tell mine.
So this is your 21-year-old football player. I'm 6 foot, about 230 pounds. And the first thing that comes to my mind is, I promised my mama a degree. I got to get my degree. And even though I can't feel my arms and finals are coming, I have a duty to get my business management degree. So that's what I reflected back on at my core. And then number two was I came to value my scholarship papers, my commitment to my team, that I would do my 4 years to 5 years here and I would play football. I committed to that. And so I had a mission to honor those things. I didn't understand all the ins and outs of MS. Believe me, like so many others, I'm learning as I go, you know, and those were the things that further propelled me through going through college. It was a lot of trial and error. Mitzi, there was no one right way to handle my disease. And the one thing that always haunted me, that I yearned for, was I would learn to find another Black man who looked like me that could tell me it was going to be okay. And I never found it. I never found that Black male that was going to tell me erectile dysfunction was okay. I never found that Black male that said, hey, you can have a quality life with MS, because I was just going to be more accepting if I could have that fatherly type figure, that male type figure to tell me, yo, TC, it's all good. I had heard about Montel Williams, but I knew I was never going to meet Montel. The closest I could do was hitting him on the talk show when it came on during daytime TV. And I was supposed to be in class by that time, Mitzi.
You are supposed to be in class. So, that is correct.
So in all actuality, I went through I want people to know I went through the lows with my disease. Okay. It was very tough to play sports with my disease. I was always behind energy wise. I would push myself to work out 2 times a day because I fell behind, but I was trying to stay with it. In all actuality, I was pushing myself even more, which I'm learning was the wrong thing to do. And in the midst of just trying to search and trying to find myself, I took a speech class as a senior in college. I took freshman speech because I was terrified of speaking in front of people. And this is where it comes to answering your question. I'm terrified of speaking in front of people. My father is a communications major. My father does speaking and all this stuff. I was terrified. I just wanted to be that person who went to school, did the work. I come to football, I do my practice work. You get everything you want out of me and I go home. That's kind of me. And so I waited till my senior year to take freshman speech. I took Africana Studies speech, Mitzi, because I said, if I'm going to speak in front of people, it might as well be my people, because at least if I speak around my people, I may be comfortable. And I walked into Africana Studies, Mitzi, and nobody looked like me in Africana Studies. And I'm saying to myself, bro, this is Africana Studies. Where are all my people at? This is like our class. This is where we come to get an A. Africana Studies. Right. And nobody was there. There were like a few, but it forced me to get out of my comfort zone, and it gave me a gateway to breathe away from my MS. I noticed that when I was able to get up there and speak and talk, it became natural and it became fun. And I looked forward to that more than football.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. So, I mean, there's so many things you said, right? When we have these conversations, I have to like mentally take notes because I have to pause and go back to what we said. So a couple of things that you said, I think one of them that was so important was realizing who you are at your core, right? So many times we're defined by the things that we do, right? I'm a physician, but I'm not, that's not the core of who I am. That's part of what I do, but not the core of who I am. Yes, I think the other piece that I think is extremely important that you talked about in talking about advocating for ourselves, you know, certainly knowing that something is wrong, getting those symptoms addressed is extremely important. But you said a word that, or you said 2 words that people don't really commonly talk about, and that's sexual dysfunction with MS. And so, you know, one of the biggest issues with MS is that there are those silent symptoms, right? So we have the symptoms that are very easy for people to associate with disability, like problems walking, problems with your vision, right? Everybody knows that that means that there's something going on, but there are a lot of silent symptoms of multiple sclerosis that can really affect your life. And if you're not in a healthcare provider relationship where you feel comfortable talking about those things, you can really be suffering unnecessarily in some cases. So let's put a pin in that and let's talk a little bit about that if you
Straight
feel
up.
comfortable.
Let's go, Missy.
Let's
rock.
go.
Let's go. I'm there. You know, Mitzi, I remember I cried tears. My mama had came out to California finally to help take care of me. I was bedridden. I just finished having one of the best days of my life, which was working out for an NFL, what they call NFL Pro Day. Most people see the combine working out for NFL scouts. Now, because of COVID, you see NFL Pro Days where they come to your school and watch you work out. I had did that. And so I received the phone calls to know that there was an opportunity for me in some way, shape, or form, probably through free agency, to at least get a chance for the National Football League. So my life was at an all-time high. And a relapse hit me again. And in that relapse, I noticed that the dysfunction and premature, and I'll say it, Mitzi, and premature ejaculation had hit me. And I did not know, I mean, just sporadically, I couldn't control myself. And I remember telling my mama, who she came and sat at the foot of my bed. I said, Mama, I don't ask for much out of life. I said, you know me, like I'm introvert. I keep to myself. I said, but I do know I've always wanted to find what you and my dad have had. I want to find a woman who will love me and appreciate me for me. And I want to raise children and to teach my children about how a Campbell never quits, and to be a present father who won't just be present, but will actually make his presence felt. Let that breathe for a second.
Yes.
Who won't just be present, but will let his presence felt. And so I cried out to my mom and I said, Mama, how in the world am I supposed to do that? Experiencing erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation stuff. I'm 21 years old. I can't control myself. What type of woman is going to want all of that baggage? And I cried. I cried because I think that's important, because number one, we are conditioned, you don't cry. What goes on in this house stays in this house. So now I'm going totally against all of those emotions, those male emotions and stereotypes. And so I hit the bottom of the bottoms emotionally. And I really went through it. And I'll never forget this. My mama told me this, and she said, Tyler, maybe your MS will be like what Paul's thorn in his flesh was for him. And I think when my mama told me that, it allowed me to think and see that it wasn't necessarily football, your voice and your ability to use that. Your voice has always been, our voices have always been something that have manifested our people and taken us to a different place. So maybe your voice is that thing that can set you free. And it's like, when mama was speaking that, and my brain got to thinking, and then I'm thinking, okay, I took Africana Studies speech class. And it's like, okay, Tyler, you see the problem because a Black male wasn't visible to you. Maybe, just maybe, this is your avenue to serve, because at my heart and my core, I live to make other people happy, just like you live to make other people happy in your profession. That makes you tick. That makes you happy, Mitzi. It gives you that other level of energy. And so it's like, okay, use voice that will be timeless. And MS can't penetrate your voice. It ain't going to take that away from you, Tyler. But it'll take the body, but it can't ever take away your words. I found out that, and I love comic books. I'm like, I'll be my own superhero. And I'll let my voice be my superpower. And I'll let my voice set myself free to help serve and help other people just as much as I could with my physical body. And I thought about those things. It helped me tick, Mitzi.
Man, that's so deep. I feel like I need to get the offering bucket and pass it around. Like, I mean, you have
hey, true,
a
because truth will always speak. Truth will
whole
speak.
word,
And that's
right?
the
You know,
truth.
so going back to the reference to Paul, for those who may not be
Yeah.
familiar, talking about Paul in the Bible, you know, who's a great apostle, like wrote most of the New Testament, did all this amazing stuff. But the Bible talks about this thorn in his side. We don't know exactly what it was, but it was something that really bothered him. And he prayed for God to take it away, and he didn't take it away, but he was still able to accomplish so much in spite of that. And I really love this idea of talking about finding our voice. You know, similar to you, I actually am not a natural public speaker. So I actually learned to speak by singing. So singing has always been my primary, like I've been singing in every church choir since I was probably, 10 or 11 years old, travel all over the world, sang background for people, but I did not like speaking. And I loved being in the background, but never in the front. And the first solo I ever had to do at church, my leg was shaking so uncontrollably that I had to hold on to keep from falling down. Like every time I got ready, every time I got ready,
I can't even see that from you.
My leg, it would just go bananas. It would go bonkers, and I'd be holding on like with the mic in his hand, like shaking, because I was terrified. But I realized that through pushing through that I actually had a gift to talk and to connect with people. And so I love this idea that even though we have a lot of different giftings, a lot of different things that we're good at, sometimes an experience will allow us to see, okay, well, maybe this thing that I thought was really a hindrance is something that I can use, or something that will push me in another direction to really inspire. The other piece that I like that you said was so key is that if there's something in the world that is needed and you don't see it, you didn't see that Black man that was talking about MS, then maybe you're the person that's supposed to do it.
That's it.
And I like to encourage people, if there's a gap that they see. I have a lot of folks that say, well, where is there a support group, or where is there this, or where can I find that? And I was like, well, if it's not there, maybe you're the person that's supposed to do it. Right. And so I love this conversation. So tell me a little bit about how you began to be comfortable sharing your story. When people are diagnosed with MS, there's a lot of uncertainty, in our community. Like you said earlier, things stay in our house. There's a lot of shame. I have a lot of people who don't even tell their family members that they have MS. There are a lot of people that don't want to ask for help, don't want their family or others to come and have to take care of them. So how did you push past that? And how did you begin to not only, find this new purpose, but to share your story about your life with MS?
Yeah. Speaking, I noticed that speaking was like therapy for me. It was therapy. I see a counselor now. I see a therapist once a week, y'all, every Sunday, 3 p.m. So I wasn't there yet though. At 21 years old, 22, 20, in those early stages of life, to say, I need to go see a counselor. I need some therapist. I need help. Right. I wasn't necessarily there. I don't want people to get misconstrued thinking your boy just got there. It took me a while, but I noticed that when it was the National MS, for the MS Society. It was like their national conference, and it was in Dallas, Texas. You flash forward 3 years to when I was 24. I had gotten married. I found the love of my life.
So
I found my queen.
Found her, right?
I found my queen. I want to say that I found my queen, and
awesome.
I found Shannon Elaine Campbell. She ran track in college at San Diego State. My wife is from the Bay Area. Shout out to East Oakland. My wife from the mud out in East Oakland. So that's how I found my queen, and she loved and valued for me. And so I started by tracking down those things that mattered most to me in life, right? And I never gave up on those things. And so it's like the man up above would align things strategically. And it's like, boom, I found that love of my life. I told my mama and my pop, like, yo, I want what y'all want. And so I found that thing. And then in the midst of it, confidence started to grow. It's like on my checklist. And then I said, you know what? I got something. And if my story don't help nobody but little old Tyler to help get through the hurdles that are coming up in life, I know I'm doing the right thing. And so if ain't nobody else in that audience gonna listen, I'm gonna listen. So when the National MS Society reached out and they said, like, we want you to come and speak. They had gotten hold of my story. I didn't think it was a big deal to play football with MS. I didn't know any of that. Again, Mitzi, my value was my schoolwork and my team. I didn't know nobody had ever not played football with MS. I didn't know that. They found me somehow through articles. And so the lady was like, we want you to speak at the national conference, probably be like 700 some people at the hotel. Will you do it? I said, yeah. She said, do you want a teleprompter? I said, no. I said, because what I have to give you is from my heart. Right. And if you put me with a teleprompter, I'm gonna look like Mushmouth from Fat Albert going hum. Right? I'm telling my age, Mitzi. I'm probably like the last generation of Fat Albert. So, and she didn't believe in me. Yeah, and she didn't believe in me. I'm talking like right before I got on stage to do the speech in Dallas, Texas, she still had the teleprompter up and was like, we can put something together on. I was like, no, I've got something. So number one, whatever you have, stand confidently and firm in it, because people are going to try to diminish what your talent and gift is. Why? Because they don't understand it, i.e. they shouldn't, because it ain't theirs in the first place. So have confidence in yours, MS or not. And when I hit that stage, when you're talking, Mitzi, how you can like move and see people's body language in slow motion. It's funny because you're on stage. People don't think you can see them and you're not reading them. You definitely read them. I felt powerful. Why? Because I felt like I tricked myself. I said, I'm doing something that Malcolm did. I'm doing something that Martin did. I'm doing something that Marcus did. I'm doing something that George Washington Carver did, meaning that I'm getting in front of a large room of people that don't look like me. Right. And I'm setting the precedent, quite frankly, of how I carry myself. I may change the way they view other people with my diagnosis that look like me. That's right. And I knew that. And so when I got on stage, it's like, bro, I'm about to let it rip. And I'm about to change certain people's psyche because I got something that you need and you ain't never heard it from my perspective before. That's right. That's right. Because, even if we're all saying, even when people are telling their story and everyone's diagnosed with MS, nobody can tell it the way that you can tell it, right? Nobody experiences it the way that you experience it. And the words that you speak are for certain people. There are people that are waiting, right, to hear what you have to say. And if we don't speak out, we're going to miss out on that. You know what I mean? I think one of the things that's so amazing to me that I love about speaking and talking and interacting is I love to see when people get it, right? I spent a lot of my life seeing patients in clinic. I would have people that came to see me after 10 years of diagnosis say, Dr. Mitzi, I'm like, well, what's MS? And they're like, I'm like, you had it for 15 years and you don't know what it is? Okay, well, let's break this down. Let's break it down, right? And just when I see that light bulb go off, when they get it, I'm like, my goodness. And I've gone places all over the US and given simple talks. And I've had people come up to me and is like, I had MS for 20 years and I did not get it until you just explained it to me, right? And so I think it's so key for people to recognize that what you have to say is important, that there are people who are waiting for you to speak up so that they can be helped, in your community, in your surroundings, in your family, whatever your circle of influence or sphere of influence is. It doesn't have to be a national stage. It can be a phone call. It can be that person at church. It can be that person that goes to the Y, or that person that, is a friend of a friend that you talk to and encourage. And so I think it's just so important for people to recognize that your story is key and it's important, and maybe the key to helping somebody else, move to that next level or get over that breakthrough. And let me pause 1 second and let's go back to that therapy now. Let's go back and touch on that therapy, right? So I am a huge advocate of therapy, right? So whenever my patients get diagnosed, whenever I see somebody that's newly diagnosed, I'm like, go see a counselor, right? I think that we still have a stigma, and I'm going to do some later shows talking about the stigma of counseling and psychiatric services in our community. But it's so important, right? And I give this example, we always think of ourselves as super people, right? We get up every day, we, grin and bear it. We put our super capes on and we just make it happen. But everybody gets to a point where they need a little extra help, and
I tell people, give yourself the advice you would give somebody else. If somebody else came to you and said, man, I was like at the height of my, football career in college. I'm getting ready to go to NFL and I can't move my legs and blah, blah, blah. I got these other problems. You probably say, man, you need some help. But when it's us, right?
Say that, Mitzi. Say that, Mitzi.
Oh my God, you need some help. But when it's us, we say, oh no, I don't need help. I'm super. Let me just grin and bear it and make it happen. And it's not reality, right? And so then what happens is that our bodies start breaking down. Everything else starts breaking down in an effort for us to stop and pay attention to the mental aspect. And so what did you get, or what do you get out of therapy, if you don't mind, if you don't mind sharing, or how do you feel like it helps you?
Yeah. I think, the problems among us come from the problems within us. And so for me, although I was walking this path of, doing things the right way, having a disease, getting married, having a family, and trying to do right, there are a lot of open wounds that were still bleeding that I had not addressed, if that makes sense. And so for me, I'm having to, 34, it's like having to confront that process of knowing that my body is not the same, and that's okay. And that, Tyler, you need to sit your butt down somewhere sometimes and watch this, saying no a little bit more than you say yes, Tyler, and not feeling bad about it, because you live to please and you live to serve, but you have a family, you have a wife, and you can't be giving everybody every part of me, and you're not taking care of your home front. Problems like that, my erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation issues are constant dealing with. I've learned to make my bedroom sacred. I've learned to be more creative through my talks, because the therapy has forced me to open up to my wife and to speak more in depth about those specific topics. That's what therapy has caused me to get in touch with my heart, and to say that my heart matters, and that if something is bothering me, I'm going to say something, and that does not make me weak as a man. To tell my wife, yo, that hurt my feelings right there, I didn't like that. Or to sit up here and say in a business meeting, I don't really rock with you like that. I don't agree with those types of things. It's an added level of voice that I started to discover for myself. And when it comes to getting older with MS, that heart and letting that heart breathe are some of the things that have helped me to kind of cultivate and manage my disease a little bit better, because I'm not ignoring trying to be that superhuman person, like you said. And I'm learning to speak up so I can stand out with it. Because if I speak up in therapy about these things that are bothering me, I'm able to stand out more, touch and help people more, and letting my voice be lifted so others can get to a diagnosis further and go even farther and faster than I ever did. And so I think therapy has taught me to remain humble, and how big it is for me to just kind of just lean on my gift a little bit more, and to recognize that it's not about me, it's about we. You know what I'm saying? So those are the things that I'm starting to get with therapy. And I go every Sunday. When I tell the fellas, especially my brothers, they like, oh, you go to what, therapy? Like, bro, what's wrong with you? Like, are you sure? Was this your wife's idea? See, that's what they say. They say, so this is all Shayna, huh? Shayna done got into your head. It's crazy, because it just shows me that added level. Even though I feel brothers, we kind of more emotional than the ladies. That's kind of what I'm figuring out in therapy.
They are.
And that's kind of a reality check for myself. I'm recognizing, Mitzi, I think I'm more emotional than my wife.
Most of the time, the fellas are.
I take it harder and more personal.
Very sensitive. Very sensitive. I mean, but it's so important, right? And I try to impress upon everyone that we have to take care of our emotions and our heart, just like we take care of that leg that doesn't move, right? If that leg is not moving, you're going to call somebody for help. But if you are drowning in stress or, depression or grief, we've been through so much in the past year with the pandemic. And if you're not dealing with that, it will deal with you. And so it is just so important, and I see somebody in the chat talking about faith. Faith is so important as well. Those resources that you have, that community. But I like prayer and therapy, right? Prayer and therapy. I think that they're not mutually exclusive, that it's okay to participate in both and okay to use both to help you along your journey. So
Mitzi, can I say this? Let me say this. I want to say this.
Yes.
And I'll move it out the way. So, because we have that stigma in our community, it's like, man, I'm going to pray this thing away. I'm going to pray this thing. Listen, faith without works, I'm going to throw it back on you, is what?
Is dead.
So if you have some work that you can do for your healing, you got to pray and you got to have your outlets of faith. And I appreciate you. I applaud it. But don't be mistaken to thinking that there's not some work, there's not some comfort zone stretching that is going to be called for you to get the healing that you need.
Woo!
I just wanted to just say that so you can move on to the next one, because we have a tendency to stay there and thinking like, oh, we waiting. And it's like, bro, you sit there with your hand out like this, you're going to be the one that's left behind because ain't nobody coming in to put that in. So you got to find that stretching for yourself, and it will be uncomfortable and it will seem like it's unfair, and there will be some tears to be shed, and it's okay. But you just keep putting one leg and one foot, one arm, whatever you got in front of the other. That's all. Go ahead to the next one, Mitzi. Woo! Go ahead. I know you got time.
That's good. Well, no, what I was going to say is that if anybody has any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We are having an amazing discussion. I see a lot of great, everybody's really excited about this talk, excited about Tyler, you sharing your story. Good to hear men talking about their experience with MS, people talking about therapy. We're in this thing together. And if people aren't open and honest, then we won't move forward. I think about the difference of some of my colleagues. Sometimes I will go do a tour somewhere in another city, and I will meet somebody for the first time. And one of my, other partners or, colleagues will be like, yeah, man, I was going to the therapist yesterday. And they just be talking about it like I talk about I ate a bagel for breakfast. I'll be like, I ate a bagel. They're like, yeah, I took the kids to the therapist. And I was like, oh, okay.
Mitzi, you better tell the truth. Mitzi, you better say bagel instead of Bojangles. Y'all think I know the real Mitzi. Mitzi, don't be over here talking about, look.
I like Bojangles.
I know you do. You better tell it like it is. You better stop. Look, y'all, she talking about this bagel. What Mitzi means is she was getting that Bojangles. I'm from Texas. I know Bojangles. You know I do, Mitzi. Stop.
Why you gotta rat me out like that, though, Tyler? You didn't have to put me on Front Street like that. See, I'm trying to do right. I ate a bagel today and baby Bojangles yesterday, but today I had a bagel. Okay. So let's see. Do you guys have any questions? If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We are talking about finding your voice. We are talking about therapy. We are talking about silent symptoms of MS. We are talking about being open and honest and having these conversations and knowing that your story is important. And so we'll see if anybody has any questions. I don't see any so far in the chat, and we'll probably wrap up in the next few minutes here. But let's just kind of, as we're kind of wrapping up and thinking about parting thoughts here, this has been such an amazing discussion, Tyler. I always enjoy talking to you. Like, I feel like we could just sit here and talk and chop it up, indefinitely. But I have someone that has a question. What advice do you have? Okay, hold on. So let's go to a couple of questions here. All right. Okay, so what advice would you have when looking for a therapist? I'll let you start with that one.
Yeah, I forget the website. There's a website too. It's like I don't know if it's this psychologist. There's a website. I need to find it to that person. I need to get their information to send it. There is a website where you can actually look up various reviews of various doctors. At the same time, I want people to be honest with themselves in the mirror. And if you could look at the perfect world of you finally opening up all of your baggage to a person, what would you prefer them to look like? And I mean that because it's about getting that picky. For me, I knew I needed, I wanted a male of color. That's what mattered to me. It didn't matter if they were necessarily black. I wanted a male with color. A man of color, and I wanted somebody who wasn't so old. My peak was like in the 40s, Mitzi. I wanted somebody who was enough to kind of like knew a little bit about my music, knew a little about the culture that I was coming from, the time period in which I had grown up in, and what I had seen, and wasn't too out of touch to feel kind of some things that may have affected me. Right. So those were kind of the things that I looked for in that. And watch this. I asked somebody else who has a therapist in their own arsenal, what their thought process was, just like you are asking right now. I had to be cultured on what therapy looked like. You know, what does a session look like? What exactly is expected of me? And what was, most importantly, what is it that you want to get out of your therapy session?
There it is.
How far and how deep do you want to go? Are you just trying to address maybe the MS portion? Is there some other things that you know are in your closet that ain't nobody else, knowing about? And that's fine. But you're going to have to kind of work through those things because the way you view your MS, the way you view your life, your relationships, more than likely that started before MS started kicking in. So your whole life is kind of encompassed into these sessions. So you kind of have to be honest with yourself and say, how deep am I willing to get? And what is it specifically that I want to get out of this? And Mitzi, that's kind of the same stuff we talk about when we're asking for neurology.
I was going to piggyback. There it is, piggyback. So, it's so important, and I put up the comment here, Dr. Hendricks, Dr. Alexis Hendricks said psychology today maybe have been the site. Psychology today. Yeah, that's a site. So I'll piggyback. It's important for you to know what you want to get out of it, right? And so I often kind of prep people before they go to see a counselor or a psychologist. Listen, man, you can lay on the couch if you want to, but it's not like all those TV shows, right? We're trying to see what's the root of the issues, what are kind of the primary things you're dealing with, and what are the coping skills that we have? What are the coping mechanisms, right? We're solution oriented. It's not just about talking about the problems, but how are we going to deal with these? How are we going to cope with these so they don't manifest themselves in your everyday life? And so I think that that's so key. So that's a resource that people can look at if they'd like to. And I think, the other piece that I would say is, sometimes you may not get the person that you connect with the first time, just like your healthcare team. This is a part of your healthcare team. Just like you can fire that neurologist, you can fire that counselor if it's not a good fit, because you have to be comfortable because it's a journey. And so I think that's extremely important to remember that it's a journey, and it's okay if you don't get what you need in one place to be okay to look somewhere else. Don't throw it out the window, but look somewhere else and get what you need. And I think that we're pretty much out of time. I see a lot of comments that people are excited and glad that you shared your story, Tyler. It is always a pleasure. Why don't you give us a parting thought, give the last piece of the sermon to the people before we pass the offering bucket again at the end of the service.
She's so funny. She's so funny. She's so funny. I have this mantra for myself, and I learned this, and I want people to hold true to this. Hope is everything. It's all our people have always had. It's all anybody always has is hope. And watch this, hope is free. And hope is what leads to determination. Determination leads to a positive attitude. And with a positive attitude, ladies and gentlemen, there's no limit to your altitude as a human being. All those things that I gave you are free, and they are easy for you to live your life by. Have hope, and hope will set the standard for any and everything while you live with MS and anything and everything else that is to come in your life. Have hope.
Amazing. Amazing. I don't think I can top that. Tell the people where to find you, Tyler. I know you have a show that you do, and I know you're active on social media. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, so I put the social media tagline in there. It's at TC Speaks 32 on all the platforms that you have. I have a radio show every Saturday on 104.9 The Horn here in Austin. You can download an app called the Horn app. It's a sports radio show, but as y'all can tell, I don't talk anything about sports at all. It's about messages of self-worth and identity. It's the same stuff y'all hear now. I have the number one show on the radio station on Saturdays, by the blessings of the man up above, just utilizing my voice. And I have a new initiative finally. I'm following in Dr. Mitzi's footsteps. I have an initiative called Educate, Elevate, and Collaborate. And it is all about creating a social media campaign that will start next week, to bring and shed light for how MS affects people of color. And I'll do it utilizing the efforts of other professional athletes that I've built a Rolodex for the past 13 years. So that is what is to come, and we all have our part to do. Mitzi's got her lane, I got mine, and you have yours. Find it and walk in it.
I couldn't say it better. Well, thank you so much, Tyler. This has been amazing. We will have to do it again, my friend. And thank you all for tuning in to Brain Chat with the Nerdy Neurologist. We'll see you in 2 weeks at 7 p.m. Have a great one.
Have a good night, everybody.